Good morning, everybody. I am Veerle de Witte. I work for the Antwerp Fire Service, and I'm also a core group member of the European Fire Safety Alliance, and I will be your host today. First, a notification that this webinar will be recorded for those who cannot attend live and will be available on our website and the website of the European Fire Safety Alliance. We've put together a great program for you, but before I start, I would like to give a few pointers to ensure that this webinar runs smoothly. We ask all attendees to turn off their cameras and microphones to minimize distractions, except for the speakers, of course. If you have questions, please use the chat feature. If time permits, we will address questions that have been submitted via chat during the presentation. At the end of the webinar, we have a dedicated Q&A time for any remaining questions. Now let's get started with our final webinar of the European Fire Safety Week. Throughout the year, the European Fire Safety Alliance and its partners are dedicated to bridging gaps in fire safety knowledge, data, legislation, and standards. During this week, we focused on raising awareness and exchanging best practices among EU member states to make homes safer across Europe and prevent fire-related tragedies. We've hosted several webinars and workshops. And, well, we have promoted the importance of fire prevention. We all know safety costs money, and more affordable housing means faster and cheaper. But we can't cut on safety. This message was conveyed during a high-level political discussion with key policymakers in the European Parliament. The debate took place in the light of the European Parliament's Special Committee on Housing and the proposal for a European plan for affordable housing. On LinkedIn, you can retrace posts with impressions of this engaging and important debate. It's been an interesting week, and of course we can't conclude this year's edition without highlighting that small device that saves lives, smoke detectors. As you may know, the goal of the European Smoke Alarm Day is to push more governments in Europe to make it a rule to install smoke alarms in homes. We want to raise awareness about existing smoke alarm campaigns in each country and help the public understand the benefits of having smoke alarms. And this year too, we have achieved some great results. But I'm going to let Finian talk about that. So it's my pleasure to introduce Finian Joyce. Finian is a chartered civil engineer. He graduated with a BE Civil degree from National University of Galway and with an MBA degree from Dublin University. Finian is Vice Chair of the European Fire Safety Alliance and Project Coordinator for the European Smoke Alarm Day. He's a former Chief Officer in Leitrim County and a former Secretary of FE, of the Federation of European Fire Officers. And he has over 35 years fire service experience, including a portfolio of several EU-funded fire safety education projects. He was project coordinator of the Erasmus Plus Be Fire Safe at School that won the European Fire Safety Project for the award in 21 and International Best Practice Award in 22. Finian will give us an introduction to the European Smoke Alarm Campaign of 25, and he will explain its importance in enhancing fire safety across Europe. Welcome, Finian.
Thank you, Veerle. Just waiting for my slides. Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Finian Joyce. I'm the Vice Chair of the European Fire Safety Alliance. Welcome to our Smoke Alarm 2025 webinar today. And today I'd like to give you an overview of our Smoke Alarm campaign for 2025 and a brief summary of our progress. Because today we will explore how coordinated action across Europe can save lives through increased smoke alarm awareness and legislation. Next slide. This is the challenge that we're facing, and the scale of domestic fire deaths and injuries in Europe remains significant. So every year it's estimated that there are about 5,000 fire fatalities and more than 50,000 people injured in domestic fires in Europe. And as you can see there from the figures, it's estimated that between 80 and 90% of all fire deaths occur in homes, in domestic homes, and that working smoke alarms can reduce this risk by about 50%. And all of these numbers are not abstract numbers. Each one represents a life that could often have been saved by a working smoke alarm. Next slide. I just want to tell you a little bit about the European Fire Safety Alliance. For those of you that may not know who we are or what we do, we're an independent alliance of fire professionals and researchers, and we connect experts across Europe to share research and practical tools and advice that makes homes safer. We are dedicated to reducing the home fire risk across Europe. And we have produced an updated version of our European Fire Safety Action Plan in 2024 with 5 focus areas. And every year we organise European Fire Safety Week and also European Smoke Alarm Day. And this year was the 7th edition of European Fire Safety Week. And this is the 4th edition of the European Smoke Alarm Day campaign. Okay, so the European Smoke Alarm Day, next slide, is a European-wide call to action where we align efforts across European countries, ensuring that once a year we remind citizens and governments that smoke alarms save lives. And the European Smoke Alarm Day campaign is an action point of our European Fire Safety Action Plan, in particular Focus Area 1, where we talk about the fire safety of the growing vulnerable community. And we have spoken about this during the week of our European Fire Safety Week. And this is a particular issue because the demographics show that the people aged 65 or over is increasing, and it now comprises up to 21% of the total European population. And this European Smoke Alarm Day, it's coordinated by us here in the European Fire Safety Alliance with the support from FEU and all the fire service organisations around Europe, smoke alarm companies and other stakeholder organisations, which we're glad to have on board with us as part of our campaign. And as you know, many fire services and national governments run national fire smoke alarm awareness campaigns all over Europe, and our campaign reinforces those particular campaigns that are held locally. So next slide. Okay, so why does European Smoke Alarm Day matter? Well, it turns fire prevention hopefully into an annual European habit, that we come out once a year on this particular day to reinforce the whole idea of smoke alarms and their importance in people's lives, and that they would install them in their homes. And the timing of this particular day is significant because it's held at this time of the year when heating, candles, cooking and holiday lights increase fire risks in people's homes. So it's significant from that point of view. And it aligns with many national fire safety weeks which are held in countries all over Europe, and also on the run-up to many retail campaigns that are held in advance of Christmas. Next slide. I tried to source figures that would compare fire fatalities across all the EU 27 countries, and it proved to be very difficult. But in the absence of harmonised EU-wide fire statistics, which hopefully we will have shortly as part of the new project which has been rolled out at EU level, I sourced some figures here from the Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation at the 2021 report. And it shows basically that there's a noticeable difference in fire deaths between countries in Western and Eastern Europe, Eastern and Southern Europe, with the highest fire fatalities occurring in Eastern Europe. Next slide. Another significant part of that focuses our campaign is this particular map of the smoke alarm legislation that exists currently in European countries. And you can see here that there's extensive smoke alarm legislation and regulations in many countries in Western Europe. But there's a large section of that map, as you can see from the slide, in Southern and Eastern Europe, many countries in red where there is no legislation or regulations at present. And it's estimated that up to 40% of homes in EU countries still lack working smoke alarms. And this is what our campaign is focused on, trying to change this map and the data that's included in this map. And this is our campaign focus. And we have large gaps yet to close. And this is what we're striving to do. I come on now to our campaign and how it began and the progress that we have made over the last 4 years. So the next slide. Our campaign started back in 2022 when we built our campaign website called EuropeanSmokeAlarmDay.eu, and that's the QR code there for it. And now, after 4 years, we have succeeded in adding a lot of content, useful content to our website, and we have it now translated into 12 European languages. And our aim ultimately is to translate all of that content into the 24 official languages of all EU countries. And we are thankful to our partners who have been working with us over the last few years to help us in doing these translations of the content. As you know, for many of you that have gone through our website, you will see that the information on our website is focused at 3 particular audiences: national and regional governments and policymakers, the fire services, and householders and consumers. And we would love to hear from get feedback, and if there's anything that any of you feel is missing or we could do better, we would love to know this and to get that feedback from you. Next slide. And just to show you that over the last couple of years, we have a number of countries have joined our campaign. So you can see in 2023, Spain, Poland, and Czechia joined, Hungary, Estonia, and Latvia in 2024, and Lithuania and Malta in 2025. And each year, all these new countries have adapted the campaign material that we have developed to suit their own particular needs and to strengthen the message, the shared message about smoke alarm awareness. Next slide. As part of our campaign also, we have developed a smoke alarm leaflet, which we have now translated into 10 European languages. And we would love to try to translate this into more European languages and make it more widespread and useful. Next slide. For the last 2 years, we have developed a social media campaign reaching out to citizens through beyond the traditional channels. And we have been active on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and X. And this year, again, we have launched a new social media campaign for 2025. And the campaign has run from the end of October up till Christmas and will continue to do so. So we would ask you to check out these particular social media channels and the social media messages that they contain, and to like them and repost and to share them as widely as possible. Next slide. This year we have introduced a little innovation where we have introduced TikTok to our social media campaign. So we're trying to reach out to the Gen Z audience. And these are photos of a local campaign that was organized by a group of third-level students in Breda University in the Netherlands. And they had a lot of fun and created a huge impact among the third-level students there. And they held a competition on campus to promote smoke alarm awareness. And they got the students, they held a competition for the best student in terms of promoting smoke alarm awareness. And the photo on the right is a photo of the winner who dressed up as a smoke alarm. So that was a very innovative and fun way of promoting smoke alarm awareness at third level by third level students. Okay, next slide. So, if you ask, as I said, our campaign is focused at 3 levels, and one of those levels is at government level. And you say, well, what can governments do? Well, we would ask governments to promote Smoke Alarm Day nationally. If you haven't already, to introduce legislation or regulations. And we heard calls during the week at some of our webinars during European about making it mandatory to in all European countries to introduce regulations or legislation. And we would call on governments to support the enforcement of smoke alarm legislation that they have already introduced. And we have reviewed that smoke alarm map that I showed you earlier during the year and have it up to date with the current position as far as we are aware of the position in all EU countries. And call on also governments to invest in awareness campaigns and community outreach programs. Next slide. Basically, then, well, what can fire services do? Well, fire services play a key role here because I know from experience that the fire service are a very trusted organization, and firefighters are trusted by householders and can play a key role in spreading this awareness campaign. So we would ask fire services to organize smoke alarm awareness campaigns at national or local level, promote European Smoke Alarm Day. Many fire services carry out home visits and into people's homes. And as part of that, we would suggest that they would carry out smoke alarm checks and give advice to residents and householders about how to install and maintain smoke alarms. And we thank a lot of fire services that have already provided us with a message of support for our campaign. And we're lucky this year that as part of the content we have added to the campaign, we have added stories of survivors of real fire incidents that have been saved by working smoke alarms. And you will hear from one of those directly later in this webinar. Okay, next slide. So, what can you do? Whether you're an organization, a government, a householder, everyone has a role to play to make this campaign successful. And we would ask you to come and join our campaign and support it and, help us maybe by translating content or smoke alarm leaflets and amplify and promote our social media campaign and create the awareness all over Europe about this particular smoke alarm day. So all of these small actions helps. The actions by everybody will make a difference. So every small action helps. Last slide, I think I'm coming to. So together we can work to make smoke alarms the norm in every European home, not the exception. This is what we are calling on us, everybody at the webinar here to do, to help us to coordinate the campaigns across Europe and drive a European-wide culture of smoke alarm awareness and home fire safety, which has been the theme for this year's European Fire Safety Week, as you see there on the slide. Let's make every European home fire safe. And one of the most effective ways of doing that is by installing smoke alarms and getting that message out to more and more countries all over Europe. So, last slide. Basically, then, if anybody has any contact or wants to get in contact with us in relation to the campaign, or if you have any ideas or want to offer support, please feel free to contact us. You can contact me there with my details or any other member of the European Fire Safety Alliance core group. So I thank you for your attention. That's a short overview of our campaign and the progress we have made. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the webinar that we have organized for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Finian. There's no time for questions, but perhaps later. And I didn't see in the Q&A any questions popping up. So I will go further with our next presenter. And she's Tania Vandenberghe. Tania works for ANEC, the European Consumer Voice in Standardization. She's Senior Manager responsible for the safety of domestic appliances, electrical appliances, gas appliances, and machinery, and for child safety. Tania joined ANEC in 1995, the year when it was set up. She represents ANEC in several European Commission working groups, for example, the Consumer Safety Network, the Working Group Gas Appliances, the Low Voltage Directive Working Party, and the Expert Group on Toy Safety. And she was also a member of the jury in several editions of the EU Product Safety Award. She also represents ANEC in the Senelec Technical Board and other European standardization committees. In the beginning of the 90s, she worked as a technical advisor at the Research and Information Center of the Belgian consumer organizations, where she was responsible for product safety and for issuing the European Home Leisure Accident Surveillance System, annual report for Belgium. Tania holds a master's degree in industrial sciences, in biochemistry, and she will talk about household fires and the life-saving role of smoke detectors. Tania, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Veerle, for the introduction, and good morning to all of you. I'm very pleased to join you in this webinar, and I would like to talk today indeed about household fires and the life-saving role of smoke detectors. I will specifically focus on the role and importance of strong European standards on safe products and effective market surveillance in order to protect us all from fires in our homes. Next slide, please. So ANEC is a European consumer organization, and we provide the collective European consumer voice mainly in standardization, but also in legislation, European legislation, which is linked to standardization. So we work with members, experts, and we have a secretariat in Brussels in order to achieve optimal levels of consumer protection, welfare, and sustainability. We represent consumers from all the EU countries and also candidate countries and the United Kingdom. And we work with 170 experts from the countries of our membership, and we participate in many standardization committees of CEN, Senelec and ETSI, and also at the international level in ISO and IEC committees. On the right of the slide, you can see that we have several priority areas, and we focus on, of course, vulnerable people and consumers. And you also see domestic appliances, which plays, of course, a big role in household fires. We receive funding from the EU, and our legal basis to receive the funding is the EU standardization regulation. Next slide, please. I'm not going to repeat all of this, what is on the slide. Finian just mentioned the accident data, and also my colleague Michaela Vuerich mentioned it at the start of the Fire Safety Week. But you can see that the accidents, the fires in households have a human impact, an enormous human impact. And of course, the vulnerable groups are most at risk. So children, older people, and people with disabilities. Unfortunately, we know also that the figures, the data, the accident data are conservative due to a lack of harmonized EU-wide data. And that brings me to the next slide, which is actually a call for harmonized data collection, because this is really the basis for all of us, for all stakeholders, to set priorities, to know on what we need to focus when taking preventive actions. So we can, of course, build on the EU fire stat and then expand beyond fire safety. So the next step for us would be to set up a European accident and injury database, including fire incidents. Because these data, as I said, are of benefit to all stakeholders to make priorities especially here on fire safety. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, the role of standards is very important in the prevention of household fires, because we know that faulty or unsafe consumer products and appliances, they can cause fires resulting in serious injuries and fatalities. We all know the Grenfell Tower case. On the contrary, when we have consumer products and appliances that follow harmonized European standards, they can prevent household fires because they give presumption of conformity with European legislation. And in the next slides, I'm going to give you several examples of the role of standards and where ANEC tries to play a role to prevent that there are fires in households. Let's go to the vulnerable consumers again. The children, the first example are cigarette lighters. In the past, there were many fires because young children, they were playing with cigarette lighters that were not fitted with childproof devices. So ANEC was instrumental here in drafting a standard that ensures child-resistant mechanisms on cigarette lighters are fitted to prevent fires. So that's a first example which shows that good products or safe products according to good European standards can prevent fires. We can go to the next slide with the next example, which stay with the children, and we have the example here of the standard for flammability of toys. Here ANEC participated in the work to develop an amendment to the standard for flammability of toys, and this amendment specifically focuses on fire safety of soft fill toys, toy disguise costumes, toys intended to be worn by a child in play, so for instance when wearing face masks and so on. And here the rate of spread of flame on the surface of the toy is of course an important factor. And ANEC welcomed the adoption of this amendment earlier this year. So again, an example which prevents fires in households. On the next slide, we jump to household appliances, and there again, we have the example of the Grenfell Tower with serious accidents and fatalities because of electrical household appliances and faulty ones, let's say. So here at the international level, the standardization committee dealing with electrical household appliances, they are taking action and they try to create robust fire prevention requirements in the standard series for electrical household appliances. And ANEC is also under the umbrella of Consumers International participating in this work. Next slide, please. Just to continue on that, we learned very recently that a specific group in the standardization committee on household appliances is now working on collecting and analyzing data on fire hazards of tumble dryers, because they want to determine the root causes of such fires and improve fire protection measures, again, in the international standards. And they therefore plan to conduct also a round-robin test, which involves laboratories from around the world to establish figures for repeatability and reproducibility of the test methods that will be put in the standards. Next slide, please. On this slide, you will see a bad example. So the previous ones were actually good examples where standards play an important role in the prevention of household fires. Here we have a bad example, and the products are fireplaces for liquid fuels. It's actually a decorative product with an open flame. You can put it on your table in your living room. It's extremely dangerous, and as a result, ANEC disagreed with the adoption of the European standard for these products. Because for many reasons. First of all, because it doesn't prevent children from gaining access to the fuel and the fire. Also, there are child safety devices missing in relation to the remote control for igniting the products. And also no safety device to prevent the filling of the appliance during operation, or in the case of a fire, of a temperature of the burner higher to 60 degrees Celsius. So here, in this case, we have asked for an immediate revision of the standard because this is an example of a standard that will not prevent household fires. Next slide, please. Recently, we also got an email from a concerned citizen who brought to our attention that when you cook oil, you can reach auto ignition in 18 to 20 minutes of continuous heating on electric cooktops. And once you have this ignition, the oil fires can reach flame heights that exceed 4 times the pan diameter. So this is a serious issue. And we see that current electric and induction cooktops from major manufacturers, they just permit to operate at maximum power settings for dangerously extended periods, so for long periods. For most manufacturers, this is like 1 to 1.5 hours at maximum power, so it's not fixed, not adjustable. Miele, they have a 1 hour default, but it can be adjusted down to 10 minutes, and that is only for the expensive models. So in this case, ANEC plans to further study this issue, and we will consider asking for the relevant standards to be improved, again, to prevent fires in homes. Next slide, please. Now we have given these examples. Let's turn to the smoke alarms then, because this is what we are talking about today. Smoke alarms, they also have a European standard. And the scope of this standard is for alarms in residential settings and leisure accommodation vehicles. Of course, there are many requirements in this standard for smoke alarms. It includes performance criteria, test methods, and manufacturer's instructions. So on the slide, you can just see an indication. So there is battery removal indication. There are requirements for marking and data, also directional dependence. So to make sure that the alarm's sensitivity to smoke is consistent in all directions and not just when it comes from one corner of the room. And then also fire sensitivity. So that the alarm must trigger before a set limit for different fire types. Next slide, please. So what do we see? That there are smoke alarms on the market that do not comply with the standard. And those smoke alarms, they give consumers a false sense of safety, and they may not warn consumers in case of fire. This was proven by a comparative test done by our colleagues from UK National Consumers Association, which in 2017 they bought they tested smoke alarms which they bought on online marketplace eBay, and they found that 4 devices completely failed to detect household fires. All these alarms were unbranded and made in China. I've put a link to the article, so please feel free to read it if you want more details about it. Next slide, please. I just want to give another example about unsafe products from online marketplaces, which can cause fires in houses. And these are USB chargers. We had a recent test by national consumer organizations. It was published 1.5 weeks ago, and they bought several consumer products, and one product group was USB chargers. which they bought from Shein and Temu. On both platforms, they bought 27 chargers, and you see that for both platforms, 26 out of the 27 chargers, they had at least one problem. So for Temu, there were 21 of the chargers which received an average rating because they had mechanical defects, and 5 were rated as serious because of electrical defects, with a link, of course, to fire safety and to risk of fire. If we look at Shein, there 14 scored average, and there were 12 cases of serious risks. So in this test, a total of 31% of the USB chargers presented serious safety risks. You see them on the slide, but of course I highlighted the overheating with the risk of burns or even fire. I just want to point out with these slides about unsafe products that market surveillance is crucial. It's important, and we can go to the next slide, because then I would immediately like to talk about my conclusions from my presentation. So again, the basis is to have this pan-European accident and injury database so that we know on what we need to focus in order to prevent household fires. Consumer products and appliances which comply with European harmonized standards, they can prevent household fires because they give presumption of conformity with European legislation. And market surveillance, as I just said, is crucial because we know that there are faulty or unsafe consumer products and appliances on the market, which can cause household fires, resulting in serious injuries and fatalities. And then just a last word about the smoke alarms. Yes, of course, they save lives, and we fully, as ANEC, as consumer organizations, we fully support the campaign on smoke alarms that Finian was talking about earlier. But of course, it's important that they comply with the European standard. So no matter if you prefer to buy your smoke alarm offline or online, be vigilant and know who you are buying from. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Tania, and that's really a very important message. And thank you for all the work that you're doing to secure that safety, that extra safety. Normally in our program, we now had Sarah Brown, but unfortunately she couldn't join us. For questions, I don't see any questions for you, Tania, yet, but perhaps they will come later. So we will just skip to our next speaker, and that's Paul van Goethem. And he's a very special speaker. I've had the pleasure of getting to know him personally, and he has touched me with his story from the first time we met. Paul started his career as an international journalist for the TED. After 11 years, he became advisor to the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Deputy Prime Minister of Belgium for 4 years. He then was Communications and External Relations Officer for the United Nations in Liberia for about 2 years, and Communications Officer, also for the United Nations in Belgium. He then worked a few years for the private sector as communications manager, and since 2008 he started up his own consultancy business, Consultator, where he provides top-level strategic and crisis communication consultancy, great diplomatic and media relations skills with a permanent drive to deliver excellent services. I know Paul as a survivor of a life-threatening fire. His personal experiences and contribution have been and are an inspiration for my work at the Antwerp Fire Service and at the European Fire Safety Alliance. Thank you, Paul, for once again being willing to contribute to this webinar today. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Veerle, and hi to everyone here. I'll elaborate a little bit on the fire that I experienced in my own house about 2 years ago now. It happened on the night of the 17th and the 18th of March, 2023. I think it was about 5 o'clock in the morning when I was woken up by the sound of breaking glass. I thought I felt the heat in my room, an extreme heat, and I thought it was my son who had put up by accident the temperature in the heating in the house, but no, I realized a couple of moments later that that was not the case, that there was something really bad going on in my house. And I heard the sound of a fire, and I also saw some green orange lights through the windows, and I realized that I had to escape, and I immediately jumped out of my bed, and I tried to escape through the stairs, but there I was blocked by a wall of heat, a wall of smoke, and immediately my former skills as a former journalist in conflict zones, they took over, and I jumped to the floor because I realized that I knew that there was oxygen on the floor, and I started crawling over the floor to find my window of the room and to try to escape the fire through the window over my roof, and I couldn't find my window. Can you imagine? It's my own house, my own bedroom, crawling over the floor and touching the walls, trying to find that window, and I couldn't find it. I sensed a moment of panic, like what is going to happen if I can't find my window, and I felt the heat still trying to get to me. And I said, well, put up your hands and go 1 meter back, and you will find your window. When I found my window eventually, and I felt the window, the glass was hot. I realized that I should not open the window immediately, but I opened it little by little, and then I could get on the roof of my house. On the roof of my house, there is a skylight. The glass of the skylight was already blasted. The flames were bursting out of it. And there I was in my underwear, barefoot, trying to escape. Luckily, I had a ladder on my roof. It's not a fire escape ladder. It's a ladder that I probably left there after some work, but I used it to get into my garden. In the garden, I realized that the house was on fire. But as I live in an inner part of a construction with an access to the street far away, I said to myself, I have to warn my neighbors because I don't have a phone here. So if they have to alert the fire brigade, and because if they are not alerted, there will be no help. So that's what I did. I came back because the sleeping room of my son is on the ground floor, and I had to get him. He didn't react. He didn't respond to my shouting, to my knocking on his window. And then I said, well, I have to put out a fire because otherwise I can't get into his room. And I was able to put out the fire with water holes or something like that in my garden. But then even when the fire was out, the room was still too hot. It was also filled with pieces of glass, of the broken glass, with steam, with heat, with smoke. So then I decided to break in the glass of the window of my son's bedroom, and I put away the curtain. Then I saw his bed, and the bed was half open, but he was not in it. And there I think I was already panicked. Well, on the shock, but I was still reacting, trying to get him out. But then I really got a shock. Like, oh no, he probably ran away, but in the wrong direction. And I thought that in a couple of seconds later, I would find him on the floor, dead or something like that. But then I realized that that was not the case, that the evening before, I had dropped him off at a Boy Scout weekend far away in my country. And anyway, and that's the moment when the fire brigades arrived, and I was so happy to see them. I was also so happy to realize that my son was safe somewhere with his friends of the Boy Scouts. So that's the story.
Yeah, it's a very important story, and it has inspired us and some members of the core group of the European Fire Safety Alliance, and actually we've involved Paul from the beginning to take action to learn more from fire victims, because actually, Paul, you survived that fire because your training that you've got, because otherwise you wouldn't have been here, right?
Well, yeah, I think, of course, it's training. I mean, who knows in general about the oxygen that is just above the floor? Who knows about opening your window not immediately, but do it in small parts? I don't know. Is it a training or is it common sense? I don't know, but I think it should be common sense, and I think that training, and that's not, I mean, big training, is just creating an awareness about fires. Fires are happening in houses, and the fire that happened in my house is because there was a battery that was charging during the night, and this battery exploded during the night. So it's awareness about the products that you use in the house. It's awareness about, if you have a fire in the house, at least think about it before. What can I do? Where should I go to? If you organize your house, put in the smoke alarms. And about the smoke alarms, I cannot emphasize that enough. Make sure that your smoke alarms are connected with each other, because the fire that I had in my house started at about 20-25 meters away from my bedroom. The smoke alarms, they worked, but they only worked during 5 seconds or maybe 10 seconds. And then the heat of the explosion of the battery killed the smoke alarm. So, but if your smoke alarms are connected with each other, then the smoke alarm in my bedroom would have alerted me that one of the other smoke alarms has detected something, and that would have woken me up earlier, and that would have given me the time, enough time to go downstairs and to see what's happening here. I think the awareness and the call to the responsibility of everyone involved should be made. And I think the testimony and the experience that I have had should be used to increase the awareness amongst the population.
Yes, yes, it certainly has. Thank you, Paul. And there are no questions yet, but I have a question for Tania for later. So about smoke alarms and then the heat of lithium-ion batteries. Thank you very much, Paul. And please hang on, perhaps for, oh, somebody's raising their hand. Can you put the question in the Q&A, please? Okay. Yeah, okay, Veronique. She asks, any work in progress for standards for lithium batteries as they present a growing fire risk? So we will go on that later on, Veronique. I will thank you, Paul, and I would like to introduce our next speaker now. So I'm pleased to introduce Thorsten Teichert. He's chair of the Euralarm Task Group Domestic Life Safety. It's in this role that he contributes in the Smoke Alarm Day. He's head of standards and regulations of EI Electronics Germany and is a convener at Senelec Technical Committee of a working group that works on domestic hazard warning systems. As a convener is somebody that is in standardization working groups as a kind of a chair. He leads all meetings and discussions, but also organizes of all the formal stuff. And he has many other engagements and other German and international standardization organizations, commissions, and associations. Thorsten is since about 30 years active in the fire detection business, and he also was a volunteer fire officer for 25 years. He will now present us strategies and insights on how to make smoke alarms accessible for everybody, especially vulnerable target groups. Thorsten, welcome.
Thank you, Veerle. Yeah, waiting for my slides. Thank you. Yeah, as you surely have seen during your registration to this webinar, the motto of this year's Smoke Alarm Day is "Hear the alarm, save lives." And that's true, definitely. But only if you can actually hear the signal. What if you can't? Next slide, please. Well, according to the WHO, we have around 20% of the European population with some form of hearing loss or deafness. And try to imagine that equates to approximately 190 million people in Europe. And this figure, of course, includes both those people who are hard of hearing and those who are completely deaf. That is, in my view, a huge number of citizens here. And deafness and hearing loss is a global issue, a global health issue. And it is set to get worse as our population ages. And the older ones of you may have already experienced that their ability to hear is not increasing if you get older. Next slide, please. The main problem is, even if you have working smoke alarms installed in your home, if you are deaf or have any kind of hearing impairment, you are still at a high risk, because the smoke alarm, as a standard, as it is laid out in the product standard EN 14604, it will only sound, and if you can't hear it, you have a problem. Next slide, please. To solve this problem is, in a way, obvious. If someone cannot hear an acoustic alarm signal or any acoustic signal, this alarm notification must be conveyed to that person in a way that they can perceive it with other available senses, which means in this case, visually or tactile. It is really, really crucial for affected persons that hazard warnings, any kind of hazard warnings, generally address all available senses. Well, and again, try to put it in practice. Although these individuals can perceive visual signals without any problems during the day when they are awake, this type of signal is completely useless at night while they are asleep. Because only very few people wake up when the light suddenly comes on in the bedroom while they are asleep, or if there is a flash of lighting. And it's important to wake up in the event of a fire, because your sense of smell is switched off while you are asleep. And the smell means the smell of smoke will not wake you up. Next slide, please. There is a principle which covers this, and this design principle of always conveying all essential information for vulnerable people and for affected people, any kind of disabilities, via at least two of the three senses of sight, hearing, and touch, is called the two senses principle. And it is one of the cornerstones of EN 17210, which deals with accessibility and usability of the built environment. It is a good idea when you design your home, or if you design buildings or dwelling buildings, consider this standard to make sure that the disabled people have also a chance to use the buildings on the one hand and to be safe on the other hand. Next slide, please. There are only 4 simple steps to solve this problem for those affected. First is, you need a tactile signaling device that should be installed in the bedroom, near the bed, or in the bed. Depends on the type of device you use. Additionally, second point, in all rooms of the dwelling, visual signaling devices are necessary. You need to be also alarmed during the day. Third, ensure that an alarm signal from any smoke alarm in the dwelling is reliably transmitted to the tactile and all optical signaling device. And this leads us to the 4th point, which also Paul already mentioned. To ensure this, all smoke alarms installed in the dwelling need to be interlinked with each other, because you do not know which one will be released by a smoke, because you cannot foresee in which room a fire can break out. Next slide, please. Wow. Of course, a question raises in this case when I talk about this is, Thorsten, seriously, a strobe light in every room? No, not necessarily. You can receive the same result in a more attractive manner. Simply add an alarm relay to your smoke detector network and have your trusted electricians to connect its control line to the distribution box. Because there, any electrician can make sure that in the event of an alarm, all, in example, ceiling lights in the dwelling will flash for as long as the alarm continues. And if you have a smart home system or a building automation system installed, even all lightings in the dwelling or any other devices which are connected to this network could be included in your personal solution as a signaling device. The next slide, please. What you also learned from the previous report from Paul, you have only 2 minutes. And this statement is a realistic assessment based on the experience of many, many European fire brigades. It is because in our current current buildings and modern buildings, in living spaces, fire produce highly toxic gases very, very shortly after the fire breaks out. And these gases lead to suffocation if you don't escape quick enough. And as a matter of fact, only installed and functioning smoke alarm can ensure that you have this life-saving amount of time. And in addition, again, as heard from Paul, have them interconnected. The next slide, please. Again, I received many questions that say, really, I have only maximum 2 minutes? Yeah. And this applies to everyone, whether awake or asleep, whether old or young, impaired or disabled or not. I would like to give you 2 simple examples. Think about all the old brochures and newspapers at your home, that you have in your home now. Just 1 kilo of them will release around 800 cubic meters of smoke when it gets fired. This is, trust me, more than enough to fill a flat within less than 2 minutes. A more impressive example is if your sofa catches fire. It contains around 10 to 15 kilograms of pure foam rubber. And this foam rubber will release around 20,000 cubic meters of smoke when it gets fired. And this is fully enough to fill 100 apartments with 80 square meters each, completely, from the floor up to the ceiling. So think about Paul's report you just heard. He didn't wake up early enough, which means that his 2 minutes to escape via the normal escape routes were already over. Next slide, please. Well, I come already to the end. What I try to give you today with you to think about, 1/5 of all people in Europe suffer from hearing impairment or are deaf. And this situation is likely to grow worse as our society ages rapidly. To protect those affected from fire smoke in their homes, more than just standard smoke alarms are needed. You need interlinked smoke alarms. These people are only safe if they have interlinked or interconnected smoke alarms, and if these are connected with additional tactile and visual signaling devices, or in the solution I showed you a few slides prior to this one. Only if this is ensured, they can perceive an alarm at any time and can escape safely before they are forced to escape via the roof, or if they have to be rescued by the fire services. So my message to all the policymakers that hopefully are also here in this webinar today, please take these facts into account when introducing a legislation in your country or in your region, or that about smoke alarms in residential buildings, or if you revise any existing legislation. At the end, and you can switch to the next slide, please. At the end, it's all about people to live safe in their homes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Thorsten. I don't see any questions in the Q&A, but I have a question for you, actually.
Okay.
Well, I know that there are possibilities, the technical possibilities keep on increasing. And I know that, for example, on phones, you can turn on the fact to detect an alarm, and then they can vibrate. A lot of people have smartwatches now. Could it be a possibility to develop smoke alarms that are connected with the smartwatches so that they vibrate, because it's on the skin, that they vibrate when the smoke alarm goes off?
No problem. You can have it today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
Not a problem. It's just a little bit, yeah, be creative.
Mhm.
Think a little bit ahead. If you have interlinked smoke alarms, I mentioned there are alarm relays. These alarm relays can be switched or can switch on any input at your smart home. You can train Alexa to react on the sound of a smoke alarm. There are many possibilities, and of course also directly via any IoT devices or connection through Wi-Fi to your internet cloud, getting back a push message on the smartwatch, on your phone, on your tablet, whatever. There are many opportunities and many possibilities.
Yeah, good ideas. I think we have to connect later on again to perhaps like work out special information for the deaf and hearing impaired
Yeah.
to give them guidelines how to help themselves, because that's very important. Thank you very much. Thank you very much,
You're welcome.
Thorsten. So now, to continue our program, I will introduce Lieuwe de Witte. Lieuwe will explore lessons from smoke propagation research. He's a professor at fire safety at the Netherlands Institute of Public Safety, and he's a civil engineer by training and has several years of experience in the field of research and teaching for the fire service. At the Netherlands Institute for Public Safety, he focuses on conducting practice-oriented research in the field of fire safety and fire science. Last month, Lieuwe delivered his inaugural lecture. He advocates conscious choices to achieve future-proof fire safety, an approach that is targeted and coherent and supported by society. This requires fire safety goals that we as a society consciously choose and regularly review. And very importantly, that are achievable, measurable, and verifiable. Lieuwe is also a core member of the European Fire Safety Alliance. So Lieuwe, go ahead.
Thank you, Veerle, and thank you for the kind introduction. Yes, so today I will talk a bit about the lessons from smoke propagation research we did a couple of years ago. And this was a 2-year study where we did in 2 weeks around 20 experiments in smoke propagation in an empty residential building. And you see here a picture of that. So I tried to do this in 50 minutes, but there's a big report about this research, also in English. You can get that from our website, and I will show you at the end where you can find it. Next one, please. Yeah, so a bit about the outline. What I want to do is I want to touch small topics here, and you can see them here aligned together. And those will all have some lessons in them, which we took from this research. But we also did other research, and you see a picture here on the right where we performed experiments in setting mattresses on fire. And this is a normal mattress after 6 minutes. So you can see what we're talking about here. Fires have changed. They will grow fast and produce a lot of toxic smoke. Next one. But first I want to show you something about another research we did, and that is a comparison between fatal fires and rescues. We conduct data from fatal fires over more than 15 years, and also we're trying to collect data from rescues, and those rescues we are doing for the last 10 years. So we made a comparison. And in this comparison, one of the things that stood out is that we looked at the age distribution of victims compared to the age structure in the Netherlands. And if you have a normal distribution, that would follow the age structure in the Netherlands. But you can see that it's not the case for all age categories. And there are some age categories that stood out. For example, age category between 21 and 40 years old. You can see that rescues are overrepresented and fatal fires are underrepresented. And this is interesting. Why are those young people, or relatively young people, do need to be rescued? The other age group that stood out is, of course, above 60 years old. You can see that in the group of 61 to 80, there are less rescues, but more fire victims, which can be concluded that people are more often a fire victim. And we also see this in the statistics. When you're above 60 years old, you have a 5 times higher rate to becoming a fire death in a fire. And related to that, there's a second graph which shows the reliance of people. And also there you can see the comparison with the other age groups. You can see that in this age group of 21 to 40, most people are self-reliant. So they should be able to escape, but they can't and still have to be rescued. And above 60, you can see that the people who are not self-reliant are overrepresented. And this is important because this shows that there are large influence factors which are contributing to those victims. Intense or rapid fire or smoke propagation leading to blockage of escape routes, combined with limited mobility, injury from fire, and limited alertness. Those are the big factors here. So the first lesson, and that we also see in a lot of case studies and other research, is that in the residential area, mainly you have a small fire. The fire is in the object or in a part of the object. And even within this object, it produces a lot of smoke. And this smoke will propagate through the rooms, through the building. And because we build differently and use other materials also in our inventory, we see that there are more and more under-ventilated fires, which means that you smother a fire very early in the process of the fire development. And if you try to do that, or if you do that, you will produce more and more smoke with more and more toxic products in them. So the first lesson, small fire, lots of smoke propagation. Yes, second slide, please. And I have a video here. You can see one of the experiments we started in this research of this 2 weeks period. What we did is we put the most sold sofa in the Netherlands, the 2-seater sofa, on fire in more than 15 experiments. And the room here, or actually the dwelling here, is completely empty of other fuel. So it's only the sofa here which is burning. You can see we shielded the outside to avoid glass breakage. And the video is speeded up a bit, but after 1.5 minutes, you can see that smoke is produced. So the first 1.5 minutes, there's not a lot of smoke visible. And after this, the smoke is building up under the ceiling, and it will rapidly change and also influence the fire in this sofa. And still keep in mind, this is only a small fire. So if you are alert, if you are awake, if you can see the fire, of course you can do something about the fire in the early stages. But if you're not alerted or not aware or intoxicated or in other situation, you can see that in very short period of time there's a problem. And when the fire transitions to into a bigger fire, you can see that the smoke is also going to influence the fire on the sofa. So in this case, you have an under-ventilated fire with a smoke layer buildup, and you only have a small room at the above the floor where there is a clear view. And even after this, the situation will change even more rapidly. So keep in mind, this is not a big dwelling. It's around 25 square meters. But you can see that how fast the smoke is getting down. You get a second fire underneath the sofa as well. And after around 4 minutes, the smoke is completely filling the room here. And what we did is we kept the door of this dwelling closed. And after 5 minutes, we opened the door and you can see what happens. The fire is now smothered by the smoke and kept at a low rate and produces a lot of unburned products such as toxic gases and a lot of soot. So after 5 minutes, the door is opened and you can see that there's a clean air flowing into the room. The fire builds up again, and of course a lot of smoke will enter, in this case the corridor, the escape route, where this dwelling is attached to. Now, if you keep the door open, you can still see that after some minutes the fire will still die out again because of the buildup of the smoke. So here is the second lesson. So it's very important to have something that will alert you. So in this case, smoke detectors are essential for alarm and warning. Not only for people who are not alerted or not alert or not aware, but also for people who are in the same room, because it goes that fast. Okay, second slide, please. So this is actually the corridor attached to this dwelling. And you can see we performed a lot of tests here of all the soot on the walls. But I will show you a video where we open the door after 5 minutes. So the video starts when the door is opened. And the signs here show you a bit about how the visibility is within this corridor. It's just a corridor of around 20 meters, and attached to this corridor are adjacent dwellings. Start the video, Veerle. So this is what happened when you open the door. Still keep in mind, there's only this sofa, in a small part of the sofa burning, and you get the kind of a wave of smoke entering your corridor, and rapidly filling the corridor at the top, and then at the ends the smoke will go down and will set the full corridor onto smoke. So after 10 to 15 seconds, the visibility is completely gone. And you can see here that if this is happening, not only the person in the room of origin has a problem if he's not escaped yet, but also people in the other adjacent rooms or adjacent dwellings might have a big problem. They are maybe still safe in their home for a certain period of time, but if they look or enter the corridor, they will directly be confronted with a lot of smoke, and there are high values of toxic smoke in them. For example, we measured over 20,000 to 30,000 ppm of carbon monoxide within this smoke. And those values are within seconds are lethal. So this brings me to the third lesson. The third lesson is maybe we should need more measures for people outside this fire compartment. You can see that attaching smoke alarms not only within dwellings but over dwellings is also important, especially for alerting people. But maybe something else is also needed. Second slide, please. And that brings me to strategy, because there has been a lot of talks about how to deal with a fire or how to deal with smoke propagation. And there's no one easy handling perspective for people. And you could say, okay, you have to escape, always try to escape. Yes, you should, but if in this case, the corridor has this amount of smoke, you should also think about if this is the best way to do, especially when you're not self-reliant or you have issues with disabilities. Of course, then you come in a kind of a debate about other strategies, such as stay put, where you wait until you are rescued, or wait until you get a signal that you can try to escape, or even more critical, defend in place, where you will be sheltering some kind of room and wait for any emergency services to help you with the escape. Or maybe at the top end, stay in place, where you stay in your building during the whole fire scenario and be safe there. And you can see that if you look at this, measures should be also representing this strategy. And if you have an escape, you can have low reliable measures, because they only have to be there for a certain amount of time. But if you will extend this time, the measures should get a higher reliability, especially when you say, okay, you can be safe in this building for the whole fire scenario. You need to be absolutely sure that smoke is not getting to the place where you are, because otherwise you have a problem. And what we also saw in this research is that it's not only about visible smoke. So it's not only about the soot. And mainly people will see smoke as something they see. What we found is that if smoke propagates through the building more and more, soot will fall down and will fall down on walls and on the floor. But still, there can be high values of toxics in the air, which you can completely see through. So you could have visibility around 20 meters, but still a very high toxic products in the air. So the fourth lesson is visible and invisible smoke. We have to deal that separately. So you can see that maybe also smoke detectors combined with other things such as carbon monoxide, the detectors should be used more in building perspective. And then there's lesson 5. If you talk about vulnerable people, we saw in this research that it's not enough to only have effect measures. You need to have a combination of source and effect measures for people who are vulnerable. Because if they're not self-reliant, we should try to prevent that fires grow this big. And even a fire in an object is too big for those vulnerable groups. Second one, Veerle. And that brings me to my summary. Sorry for being very short about this research, but you can read anything back from our report. And here you can see the lessons in order again. So small fire produces a lot of smoke and a lot of smoke propagation. And smoke detectors are essential in alerting and warning people, but maybe they're not enough for all the groups we are seeing today. More measures are needed also for people outside the compartment. So we should think about more combined measures and also interlinked smoke detectors. And there's the issue of visible and invisible smoke. If smoke propagates further through the building, it will still have a lot of toxics in this. And you can see right through this smoke. So we should also think about that. And in the end, if we really want to make things better for vulnerable people, we have to look at a combination of measures. And by combination, I mean source and effect measures, but actually even more, we also should look at prevention more and more. Because the key here is we cannot have a very big fire or very big smoke propagation when it comes to those vulnerable groups. We need to be earlier on in the process and need to focus more on that. Saying that, I think this research also showed that we have to reflect on the assumptions we have and still have to make people aware how fast fires are propagating and how fast smoke will propagate. And I hope it will also change our thinking, because compartmentation and the effect measures are maybe very good for average people, but not for vulnerable people. Having said that, next slide, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Lieuwe. Always interesting to see how science and your perspective of it all gives us good advice to go further than we are going already. I don't see any questions yet, Lieuwe, so let's stay on perhaps in the end. I will now announce Robert Klonowski. He's a Deputy Head of Civil Protection and Crisis Management Department at the Polish Ministry of Internal Affairs and Administration. He's also a fire brigade senior officer with more than 30 years of experience at various operational, technical, and organizational posts. Being a qualified translator, he is the co-author of the English-Polish Dictionary of Rescue, Civil Protection, and Crisis Management. He's one of the acknowledged leaders of community safety actions, projects, and programs in Poland. And his recent achievements are creating the hazardous and AMP, an educational game for adults, resilient, inclusive societies, and setting up the National Fire Prevention Program for voluntary brigades, smoke alarms under each roof. In the webinar of 24, Robert presented the experiences of that campaign in Poland, and today, 1 year later, he will bring us an update. Robert, it's yours. There seems to be a problem with the camera and the sound for Robert. Mendogas, can you? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Robert.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Welcome from Warsaw, welcome from Poland, and here it is a quick update of our smoke alarm under each roof campaign, the campaign which is developing quite rapidly, and I'm really glad and happy to present you with the results of our progress. But first of all, let's start with a bit of facts and figures. Next slide, please. As you remember, the situation with fire deaths and injuries in Poland is a very serious problem, and it's been unchanged for many years. Here you can see the graph, which begins with 2002, and you may remember from Finian's presentation that Poland was the 6th worst country in Europe when it comes to fire deaths. Unfortunately, I have to confirm that said statistics. Nevertheless, thanks to our actions, you don't have it on this graph, but in 2023, we have managed to lower down these figures from 500, which was stable and unchanged for more than 20 years. So in 2023, we have lowered it down to 400, and the last year's statistics showed only 295 fire fatalities in Poland. So it is a promising statistics, but we will see how whether this trend is permanent or not. We will see, and we do hope that it is permanent. Next slide, please. And okay, and one more important facts and figures that we have identified in Poland. You may also check it in your own countries. We have observed that despite the fact that the number of fires in blocks of flats has remained unchanged over the years, but the number of fires in houses has significantly risen. Therefore, we should concentrate our actions on the houses rather than blocks of flats. And that's actually what we did with our program. Next slide, please. We have used one of the biggest assets that we have in Poland, namely voluntary fire service. The voluntary fire service is the biggest NGO in Poland, and they have 16,000 units scattered all over the country, mostly in rural areas. And the number of all members is more than 600,000. So it is a huge army of people, but it is not only the numbers and the quantity, but it is also the quality of people. Because if you live in the village or in the rural areas and you would like to do something for your community, very often you have no choice but to join the voluntary fire service. And that's actually what happens in Poland. So in voluntary fire service, we have really a group of proactive, very energetic people who are excellent organizers. Additionally, we also have 6,700 young firefighters team in Poland, and these teams comprises 87,000 members. And we have also noticed that the number of girls in these teams has risen from 25% to 35% over the last 5-7 years. So it is also a very promising numbers. And this program, Smoke Alarm Under Each Roof, is open to young adults plus 16. So the members of young firefighters teams are also invited to this program. Next slide, please. And Smoke Alarm Under Each Roof. This is the campaign run by the main board of Association of Voluntary Fire Service, and it is also part of our country nationwide strategy named Florian 2050. which is reforming the whole voluntary fire service in Poland. The main goal of this program is the awareness of the people. And what is very important from our point of view is that it is a program, not a project. So from the very beginning, we knew that this program is going to last for years, perhaps decades, as long as we make our country fire safe. So it is a marathon that rather than sprint, and that's why we organized our actions alongside. The main goal is to raise the awareness of the people, and this is. But before that, we have also noticed that before raising the awareness of the people, we had to raise the awareness of the firefighters, and that was a more challenging task than we had expected, because there were still many firefighters in Poland which also think that their only duty is the operational one, and they do not pay enough attention to prevention. But it is changing, but it is a hard and long-lasting job. This program is open to all voluntary fire services in Poland, and it is based on a free, accessible IT tools. This is the program that we have designed, and it is located under the webpage testbezpieczeństwa.pl. Unfortunately, it is in Polish because it is for Polish citizens and Polish firefighters only, but you can easily translate it with the openly accessible tools. So this is the heart, and this is the home of this program. This is where all voluntary units can apply and enter the program, and this is also the place where the citizens can check the results of home fire safety checks. And what are the home fire safety checks, which are the core of the program, will be shown on the next slide, please. Next slide, please. The home fire safety checks. As I said, this is the core of our program, and they are carried out by voluntary firefighters, plus 16 years old, and sine qua non condition is that only these tests are carried only after they are invited by the owners. So the firefighters do not knock on your doors on their own. They only come to you after they have been invited. And the whole test is all about consultation and advice. So we only give consultation and advice only about all aspects of fire safety, and over the year we have expanded the scope of the test to photovoltaics, electromobility, cars, bikes, scooters, as the growing number of people all over Poland, they are buying these devices, these items. So the firefighters come and, okay, you have an electric car, okay, now, but do you know how to charge it safely? No, okay, no idea. Okay, are there any dangers connected? Are there any threats connected to that? No, I didn't know. Okay, so maybe you can consider that buying extra fire extinguisher, which will be located at the entrance to your garage. And these simple, okay, I didn't know that, but it is worth considering. And as you know, because if somebody can afford an electric car, they can afford an extra extinguisher in their home. But they, as I said, but we need to raise their awareness. They must be aware that, okay, there is a certain threat connected to having electric car in my garage, and they don't want my house to burn down completely because of that. So maybe I will just, okay, I spent several 100,000 people of a new car, so I will spend a few more hundreds on the extra extinguisher. Home fire safety checks are firefighters' proof. What does it mean? Of course, we know that the people are different, and not all firefighters are experts especially in fire prevention. So we have designed a special test which is available online. This test has been designed by fire experts, and the firefighters, they only tick the right boxes, yes or no. For instance, do they have shutters, or are there shutters in the home? Is there a youngster or babies at home, or do you have adults, or do you have people with problems of mobility? And when they tick the right boxes, after that, the test automatically provides answers to the citizens. And the citizens, they are provided with a special PIN, and then they enter the home page, testbezpieczeństwa.pl, and then they just put in the PIN and they have the results ready. And also there is the option that at the end of each home fire safety checks, our firefighters install smoke alarms. And there are three options. Either they install the smoke alarms they have on their own, or they can install the smoke alarms that have been provided by the homeowner, or they can just give out the smoke alarm if they have, and the smoke and the house owner doesn't want them to install it. Or there is also the fourth option, which is also quite popular, that the home fire safety checks are carried out without installing smoke alarms. So these four options are available. And what is important is because of the the Data Protection Act, these results are known to the owner of the firefighters. And all the regulations and all the documents that circulate within the program, they are personal data protection verified. So they are safe. And one more important thing is that this program is a no paper one. So we do not have a single paper involved in this program. Everything is done online. And we also have the statistics module included in the program, but this data is available only for the project leaders, just like me. So I know the data and I'm going to share it with you right now. Next slide, please. And let's see what kind of progress we have made over this year. Last November, we had 37 voluntary fire units in the program. Today, we have 179 voluntary fire units, and as I said, it's all volunteer, so it's only up to them to enter this program or not. And I have one more application ready this morning, so I can say that we have reached 180. These firefighters, they have carried out till the November 2024, we had only 105 home fire safety checks carried out throughout Poland. This November, we have 936, and our goal for this winter season is to overcome 1,000 home fire safety checks. During these checks, the firefighters installed 388 smoke detectors. 38 smoke detectors were handed out without installing. 74 homeowners, they had their own smoke detectors that firefighters installed, and 435 home fire safety checks were carried out without installation. But it also happened that after that home fire safety checks, we had several examples that the owners, the inhabitants, they, after a few days or a few weeks, they called the firefighters again, to come to the house, because after the test they realized that they need a smoke alarm, and they bought them by themselves, and the firefighters just come again only for installing the smoke detector. So our primary goal, which is, I remind you, the rising of the awareness of the people, has been achieved. Next slide, please. And this is one example of how, I mean, the huge achievements and the big results are achieved by small steps. And this is one of the small steps. This is the example of a small village in the Lubelskie province. It is in the south of in the east part of Poland. It's a very small village, only a couple of hundred people living there. And the firefighters from there, its name is Piotrkówek, so it's really worth remembering. The firefighters there, they entered the program last year, only last year. And over the year, they were so active, and they were so active also in organizing smoke detectors and promoting the whole campaign. They reached the local government. They managed to gather some sponsors, but also voluntary fire service in Poland is involved in collecting the electric garbage. And when you collect electric garbage, they have some agreement with the recycling company that they get it back, and the firefighters get some money in reward. So all this money that they got in reward for collecting electric garbage from the citizens, they bought the smoke alarms and they installed in their houses. So it's an example of a perfect local cooperation. All in all, after a year, Piotrkówek has become the first village in Poland where all the houses are equipped with smoke alarms. So I'm really proud. I'm really proud of them, because they are the example of how very small units and only a few people that are really engaged, they can achieve great results. Next slide, please. And also, we wouldn't do anything alone. So in this program, we have managed to attract several notable partners, and beginning with the European Fire Safety Alliance. As Finian said, that was the source of inspiration for us, and something that's still supporting our program. Federation of European Fire Officers, and also we have a Polish National Fire Science and Research Center in Józefów, which provides valuable training for the firefighters. They have designed their own. It's a one day long course for smoke detectors installer, professional installer. And of course, it is possible, because know that when you read the instruction on the smoke alarm, you can install it yourself, but we have identified the need for a bit more professionalization of this procedure. So this Fire Science and Research Center, they have designed that course, and they carry them out. And several firefighters have already completed this course, and the feedback is really promising. And also, I'm glad that we have the first State Fire Service unit, which is the provincial headquarters of State Fire Service in Poznań, which has become the official partner of the program, and they support us with the expertise, with some local accommodation and training facilities, but also they are a facilitator of distribution of smoke alarm that we get from our next partners, which are the smoke alarms manufacturing and retailing companies. And we have 4 of them: AISCO, KIDE, Euratech, and EI Electronics. They all support our program, but not only with smoke alarms, but they also provide us with valuable valuable know-how, which is extremely important with next slide. Next slide, please. Because in Poland in 2024, we have a new changer. The new regulation from the Ministry of Internal Affairs and Administration from November 2024 imposed the obligation of installing smoke alarms in each house and each flat in Poland. So this installation, smoke alarms, have become mandatory in Poland, and the regulation comply both smoke alarms and CO detectors, depending on the source of threat that you have in your house or your flat. We have designed the reasonable time span for that, because Poland is a big country. It's the seventh biggest in Europe, with 38 million people. So it takes time to install smoke alarms in every single house and flat. So the time span for this regulation is 5 years. So the deadline is 2030, and after that it is the 1st of January, and after that every single house in Poland and every single flat in Poland will have to be equipped with at least one smoke alarm. I know it is late, but better late than never. And still there are some other countries in Poland that are lagging behind us. So please catch up with us. And also with this act of regulation, we have observed that it has started a wide range of all sorts of activities, both on the national level, where, for instance, Ministry of the Interior is going to buy around 200,000 smoke detectors, and they will be distributed mostly through these voluntary fire service units, and they will be distributed to the poor and the more vulnerable groups all over Poland over the next few years. So I think it will give me also some interesting topics to deliver to you next year. But also the main board of voluntary fire service and state fire service as well, they are going to buy several thousands of smoke detectors soon, and they will be, not only they will be bought, they will be given out, but they will be, we know that they must be installed, because otherwise all your efforts will be in vain. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the last slide of mine, and here is the link to the homepage of our smoke alarm under each roof program, which is testbezpieczeństwa.pl, and also my email if anybody would be interested in getting more details about the program. I would like to sum up with two important information. Here in Poland, following the example of some European countries, and it is one of the best things about European Union, that we can learn from each other and pick up some interesting ideas. We have lately designed and prepared so-called safety handbook. Safety handbook following the examples, especially of the Scandinavian countries, and Sweden, Norway, and Finland. So many of you know what safety handbooks are. These are the kind of brochures that are distributed either online or in hard copy versions to all households in a given country. And here in Poland, we are now printing 16 million copies of safety handbook, and they are going to be distributed to every single household in Poland till the end of January 2026. And in this, there's also a dedicated web page, and this safety handbook is available in English if anybody is interested. But one of the important thing is, if you would like to make your home safer, install smoke alarm. So this is the message that will be delivered to all households in Poland next month. And
thank you, Robert.
We consider it our big success. Unfortunately, I will finish with the sentence that, as Finian said, the motto of our smoke alarm day is check your test alarm today. Check your test alarm today. Unfortunately, in Poland, we have to verify it slightly, and in Poland, we still are on the level buy your test alarm today. But we are making progress. We are making it fast, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Robert, and all the other speakers. So there's still like a few minutes left over for the Q&A part. Mendogus, can you open all the speakers on the screen, please? Yes. So Tania, I had a question for you. You talked about also the standardization of the smoke alarms, and I know that I don't know how long the standard already exists, but we know that now with the newest fires caused by lithium-ion batteries, that the heat is very, very much more intense and faster intense than it ever was before. And from the story from Paul, we've learned that his smoke detectors just melted away from the heat before he even got awakened by them. So is the organization taking into consideration about recalibrating that standard for those new, much hotter fires? Or do you know something about that?
Thanks a lot, Veerle, for the question, and I think it was also one of the Q&A, one of the questions in the Q&A. Well, first of all, it's clearly one of the products that causes a lot of fires these days, and it's a very complex product, lithium batteries, for sure, because they have a high energy density, and also the internal components are very flammable. But just to give a view on it, so there is EU legislation, first of all. There is the EU battery regulation, and it is linked, that regulation, to standards for portable batteries. So that's, let's say, what exists. The reason I didn't mention lithium batteries in my presentation was simply because ANEC is not involved in this work. And that's because we don't have experts on these products in our network currently.
Okay.
Yes. So, but then going back to your question, Veerle, about the standard for smoke detectors itself, it's also a standard that ANEC has not been following actively, but for sure, I can imagine that there is room for improvement. And if again any of you would be expert on that and would be willing to help ANEC to follow this work or propose amendments or improvements to the standard for smoke alarms, please contact us, because as I mentioned before, we are working with experts. We are working with volunteer experts that go to standardization meetings for us to represent the consumer interest. So please feel free to contact us. But for sure, this is a product that we need to be watching and take action where we can. Definitely. Thank you.
Thorsten, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I can maybe bring a little bit of light into this dark. The work on this product standard EN 14604 is currently has just started again after many years. It is a complex topic because on the one hand, of course, there are some reasonable topics that should be considered, and one of it is definitely the lithium-ion issue. On the other hand, this standard is a mandated standard under the Construction Products Regulation. So, on the one hand, I am in this actually in this working group, TC 72 working group 14. So we have to, on the one hand, fulfill the requirements given to us and the borders given to us by the EU Commission through its mandate. On the one hand, we have to fulfill all the requirements for setting up product standards under the Construction Products Regulation. And it is not easy to include also these topics into this. We are trying to come to some ideas to be a little bit creative. As I already mentioned in the chat, Euralarm's Task Group Domestic Life Safety is also trying to address this issue. Tania, maybe we should have a chat maybe in the next weeks to see how we can align our activities on this.
That's a very good idea, Thorsten. We welcome this, of course. And just to say that also one part of a standard in general is like the markings and the warnings, the instructions for use to consumers. And this is also a very important part of standards. So, of course, we are willing to help there to improve that, because if we look at the lithium batteries again, it's not only the product itself, but it's also how it is handled by a consumer. Like, I mean, don't put it in direct sunlight or next to a heating source, or don't use it anymore. Maybe when it has dropped, when you see it has damaged, and so on.
Yeah, right.
You can, there's I know that several fire services do make work also about warning people about the hazards and the risks of lithium-ion batteries. So we certainly do. So somebody had a question for Robert and asks how the whole program of the smoke alarm under each roof is funded.
Hi, I just typed in the answer that no money has been involved in this program yet. It's been carried out for volunteers, and and all work has been done voluntarily. So it is also of our great achievements, but the money for the SMS service I have to pay myself. So this is the reality. If you want something to be done, you need to do it yourself. This is the sad reality, but hopefully this situation will change.
Wow, Robert, that's like really impressive. It's for sure those home safety checks are a very large effort and a very large commitment. So yeah, kudos for that, for realizing that. It's a lot of respect. And I also realize that you still have some work with convincing firefighters to invest more in prevention. We had that more than a decade ago, the same. The good question that you can always ask is what if the fire starts in your home and you are not at home and your family is? How are they going to save themselves? So use that one. So I'm looking at the time. I haven't seen any other questions except to Lieuwe how to get their hands on his publications, and he already answered that in the comments. So thank you for sharing that, Lieuwe. Yeah, Daniel or Worden is putting up his hand, but I don't think you have. There's still possibility to do any more questions because it's only 1 minute, and so we have to closure. Please put it in the chat if you can. So thank you for all your contributions. You can also check and contact the speakers via email. Thank you again for all the speakers for interesting presentations. And finally, I would like to give the floor to Finian once again to give us a wrap up, formulate conclusions, and projection for the next steps.
Yeah, thank you, Veerle. I don't want to delay people too long because I appreciate all the efforts of all the speakers, and I'd like to thank them for their great contributions to the event here today, and to all the members of our working group as part of the campaign that we organise every year. And we have, you know, maybe up to 25 members of our working group, and I'd like to thank them for all their efforts during the year and helping to organise this European Smoke Alarm Day campaign. I think we've had a range of speakers covering different aspects today, from standards to research to the need for more accessible, to think about accessibility for citizens in terms of smoke alarms as well. We have also seen the huge impact that the campaign has made in Poland with all the firefighters, but also with the support of government at a top level. So that's also important. We want to continue our campaign. We want to change that map of Europe I showed you earlier to make countries more aware of the need to install smoke alarms and to change that red colour in the map in the south and east of Europe. The role of education is also important, and we need to consider, you know, what Tania said in terms of if people are buying for consumers, to make sure they do not buy faulty smoke alarms, that they buy them to a correct standard. I think that's very important. We get that message out there wherever they buy their smoke alarms. So that advice needs to be put up on our website. The coordination between all the various groups is essential, from government to firefighters and smoke alarm companies, all working in the same direction to make this campaign even more successful. And the final message is, if anybody wants to get involved and join as a partner country or to support the campaign by translating materials, please contact us, and we'll be delighted to hear from you, because we will try to make next year's campaign even more successful. So thanks to everybody.
Thank you very much, Finian. So thank you for your participation and for attention. So let's leave today with a renewed commitment. Smoke alarms are non-negotiable for saving lives. Imagine a future where every home in Europe is a safe haven, protected by that simple device. That future is within our reach if we do work together. Be part of this crucial mission and learn more at our website, and join us. Give us some contribution. Thank you and have a nice day.